Today I want to talk about something a little different. I'm going to look at phishing emails. You've probably received dozens, hundreds, maybe even thousands in your time. They're a part of day-to-day life at the minute. But where does a CTI analyst fit into this equation? What does a CTI analyst do with a phishing email? How do they analyze it, extract intelligence that can actually lead to useful insights for the business? As a CTI analyst, the SOC team has probably reached out to you asking you to take a look at an email. Can you extract any indicators of compromise from this email? What about tactics, techniques, and procedures? Are the bad guys doing anything new that we can write phishing detection rules against? The prevalence of phishing emails and the number one initial access method for most threat actors make analysing them imperative. It is important that you don't just go around blocking every email you see. You need to extract valuable intelligence from that email that inform a course of action for your security operations team. This course of action could be building more resilient phishing rules in your security email gateway, threat modeling and threat profiling threat actors that are out there and how they are using phishing emails to bypass your defenses, or for threat hunting, where you start with an initial hypothesis based on the phishing emails that your company is receiving. In this video, I want to introduce you to how you can go about analysing a phishing email, looking for the signs that an email is suspicious and requires further investigation. This is a multifaceted approach that scrutinises the email's content, technical headers, embedded links, and any accompanying attachments. Each of these components offers unique clues that when you piece them together can reveal the true intent of the sender and potentially avoid a devastating security breach. A phishing email is typically made up of four key components. We have the headers, the content, which contains links, and any attachments. We want to analyze each of these components in turn to determine the maliciousness of the email and if there's any intelligence we can extract from it. To begin with, we look at the header. The email header contains a wealth of technical information about the email's origin and its journey across the internet, and it provides crucial evidence for identifying a phishing email. Then we have the content of the email. This is the main body and is often the first and most obvious place to spot the hallmarks of a phishing attempt. Attackers frequently employ social engineering tactics to try and create a sense of urgency or fear so that they can manipulate the recipient into acting without thinking. Then we have link analysis. Often, phishing emails will contain malicious links embedded in the content of the email. This is a primary vector for phishing attacks because if they can redirect you from the phishing email to their malicious infrastructure, then they have a good chance of achieving their objectives. And then finally, we have the email attachments. Email attachments are a common method for delivering malware, including ransomware, spyware, keyloggers, and what is popular today, information stealers. You should exercise extreme caution when you see something attached to an email that's unexpected or looks potentially suspicious. We'll go through how you can use each of these components during your analysis to determine the maliciousness of an email. Each often provides valuable intelligence that you can leverage in your defensive actions. So let's break each of these core components into what you want to look for in a phishing email. In the headers, we have the from address, reply to address, received address, and any authentication results such as DKIM, SPF, and DMARC checks. First, we can check the from address. Does it appear legitimate? In PhishTool, they have a handy pop-out window where you can look and see if it's consistent with the display name. Often attackers will use a different email from address and display name to try and trick you into thinking it's from someone who it is not. Then we can look at the reply to address as well. Here we see there is no reply to address. So if you try to reply to this email, it won't go anywhere. Phishers often use a legitimate looking from address, but set it to a different reply to address. So if there's a mismatch here, you can be a little suspicious of the email. Next, we look at the received headers and any authentication results. Here we see that the DKIM is neutral and the DMARC fails for that domain name. This is interesting, and although it doesn't prove the email is a phishing email, it is definitely suspicious. Then in the content of the email, we want to try and look for urgent or threatening language that's trying to persuade the user to do something. We have generic greetings. Is the email addressed to you specifically? Then we have poor grammar and spelling mistakes. These are often a telltale sign of a phishing email, but they're becoming harder to spot with the advent of AI. Then we have unusual requests. So this could be perhaps your CEO asking you to transfer a large sum of money, or an external vendor you don't work with asking you to click on a link to analyze an invoice. If you come across an unusual request, think twice before acting. And then finally we have inconsistent branding. Does the branding match what you'd expect to see? For instance, if you get a DocuSign email, does it match the official branding on their website? Or does it look like a cheap knockoff? Here we see a generic greeting to the email address of the recipient. There's no first name or last name included. We also see that it is masquerading as a DocuSign email, and this brings on to inconsistent branding. It looks low quality and doesn't match the organization's typical branding. We see that there is no threatening or urgent language being used, but it invokes the user's curiosity by asking them to review a document. Again, there's no poor grammar in this email, but what gives it away is the poor and inconsistent branding. In the content, there will often be links. You want to investigate if any URL deception or hyperlink mismatches are occurring. Is the phishing email using a URL shortener to mask the real location of where that link goes? Or are they using hyperlink mismatches where the text of the content says one thing, but the actual URL it redirects you to is completely different? And then finally, look for insecure connections. In today's age, HTTPS should be used everywhere. If you see a link going to a HTTP website, you know it could be trouble. Here we see a URL and we can open it in the secure browser provided by PhishTool. Clicking on it brings us to the homepage for eBay, as we can see in the HTTP requests. There's nothing malicious about this, but perhaps there is some gateway that the phishing email is hiding behind that we need to investigate further, as we can see from the suspicious looking URL requests. And then the final component we want to analyze is any attachments. These used to be commonplace in phishing emails, but with EDR solutions on most endpoints in businesses, they're becoming less and less common, but still, they are out there. So try looking for any unexpected attachments you see on the email, any dangerous file types, like a PowerShell script with .ps1 or a .exe file on Windows, and then any double file extensions, something like .doc.exe. These could be masking the true file type that you're actually downloading. Looking at the attachments to the email, there's nothing attached, so there's nothing to analyze here. As you can see, this approach to analyzing emails, where we go through the headers, context, links, and attachments, is good, but it is time consuming, slow, and potentially dangerous if we're clicking on random links to see where they take us. What we need is a tool that combines all of these analysis components under one platform. We don't want to be jumping to different tools like VirusTotal or another threat intelligence platform to look up our indicators. We don't want to be jumping to another sandbox solution to find out if, when we detonate a piece of malware, it is actually malicious. And we want a way to automate this analysis and triage, because you could be potentially analysing hundreds of emails on a weekly basis. Which is why I want to introduce you to the sponsor of this video, ANY.RUN. ANY.RUN is a cybersecurity platform that includes an interactive sandbox, threat intelligence lookup, and threat intelligence feeds products. Each of these is designed to enhance threat detection and investigation. You probably best know ANY.RUN as a malware analysis sandbox, a cloud-based solution for dynamic malware analysis that allows users to interact directly with suspicious files and links in real time. In recent years, they've also added a threat intelligence lookup and threat intelligence feeds products to their solution. The TI Lookup product is a powerful threat intelligence search tool that provides instant access to enriched data such as domains, IP addresses, and file hashes. This allows for an efficient threat investigation. Their TI Feeds product is a comprehensive collection of indicators of compromise that you can use to expand your security system's threat detection capabilities. Think automatic ingestion and detection using this product. But you're probably wondering, all these products sound great for malware analysis, but how do they help me analyze a phishing email? How can I perform those 4 core analysis components that you talked about previously? How can I analyze the content, headers, links, and attachments within a phishing email using ANY.RUN? First, we'll navigate to the ANY.RUN homepage, which is ANY.RUN. Then we'll click on Get Started. Here you can register for a free account. I highly recommend using your business email here. Once logged in, you can start a new analysis by clicking on the Submit File/Email option. Here I'll upload that original phishing email and set the sandbox features that I want to run it with. If you click on Pro Mode, you are given a whole range of features that let you tailor the environment to your needs. This can help bypass anti-analysis features in malware or phishing emails. I always like to set the duration time for the sandbox to 300 seconds or thereabouts. I'll stick with the default Windows 10 operating system and the default install tools. We'll also stick with the default United States language because this is who the recipient of the email was intended for. We can keep all the other settings default and click on Run a Public Analysis. Be mindful that this analysis will be available to users of ANY.RUN in their public platform. If you have any potentially compromising details in the email or ones that you want to keep private, then I highly recommend looking at the paid options that come with the platform. We'll click Run and Agree, and this will start the analysis. Here you can see that ANY.RUN has opened the email using Outlook in a sandbox environment. From here we can interact with the email and see what happens, as everything we do is recorded by ANY.RUN. We'll click on Review Document to see where this malicious URL might lead us. As you can see, ANY.RUN opens this in MS Edge, and it is hidden behind a Cloudflare firewall. This is interesting because it's a tactic often phishers will use so that automated email analysis tools like security gateways can't pick up on the phishing domain straight away. We'll click Verify that we're a human so we can get past this and perform our analysis further. We are redirected to what appears to be a malicious domain and asked to verify our email to log in. To do this, we can use the recipient's email and we see that this takes us to what appears to be, at first glance, a legitimate Microsoft login page, but if we check the domain, this is definitely not the default Microsoft login page for our tenant. Now from here, if we were to enter our credentials, I can almost guarantee they will be stolen and our account will be compromised. This includes our password and any cookies that would be generated. I think this is a good point to stop our analysis and extract what intelligence we can. ANY.RUN will nicely provide a summary of our actions. So we could get a sample of the email that we uploaded. We can look at the IOCs that ANY.RUN was able to extract. This includes a SHA-256 hash of the email, any files that were dropped, any IP addresses that were connected to, any HTTP or HTTPS requests that were made. These can give us great value as we use the TI lookup tool next. We could restart our analysis, get a text report of the analysis. This is useful if we need to attach this to a security incident ticket so that other analysts can see what we've done, as well as some screenshots that detail where this fake login page went to. We can also see a nicely generated process graph. This is useful if we were to detonate malware on the system and see what it was to do. We also have a nice mapping to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And finally, we can use an AI summary of the incident to generate a quick report. This is very beneficial for junior analysts who might not know how to best interpret the results that ANY.RUN is giving them. And then finally, we can export the data to various formats. Again, useful for ticketing systems or to add to our intelligence database. Let's take that domain name we saw in the phishing email and upload it to the TI lookup tool to see if there's any more indicators that we can extract. We'll hop over to the TI lookup page and go to lookup. Here you can see we can build a query using a variety of parameters. For our use case, we'll be using the domain name we found. So we'll click domain name and we'll paste it. Here we can see the several results have been returned. We get 2 analyses that have been found with this. Let's take a look at one of those analyses. This appears very similar to the analysis we just performed, and we can use the playback feature in ANY.RUN to see what the analysis did. Here we can see it leads to a similar phishing page. We get several IP addresses that we could pivot to look into further. We could expand our investigation by searching for these IP addresses, or pivot to another analysis and use the IOCs they found to help us inform our intelligence gathering efforts. For now, we'll leave the analysis there. Let's take a look at another phishing email that we received and see how ANY.RUN can help us there. Once again, ANY.RUN will start up and automatically assign tags as it begins executing. These are useful for correlating it with other analyses. At this point, I want to show some automated actions you can perform in ANY.RUN. The Actions tab, which is still in beta, but is great for automating your analysis. For instance, it will load this phishing email and then come up with several actions that you can automatically perform, saving you time. I'm going to click on Approve All and see what we can get from this zip file. It looks like it has a DLL and an exe file within it. From the approved actions list, we are launching this zip file and the exe inside it. Let's see what this exe file does to our system. At the bottom of the UI, we can monitor the HTTP requests or connections being made and the DNS requests, as well as any files that are being written to disk. As we can see, the process is still executing. The processes list gives us a list of the running processes and the child processes that are being executed. This is ideal for malware analysis. It looks like this malicious exe executes several processes, one of which, called add-in process, which has been identified as potentially Agent Tesla malware. Clicking on it, we can see the process details and what MITRE tactics, techniques and procedures it executes, as well as the YARA rules that it has detected. Again, you can also see the new tags have been added to this analysis. This allows you to easily search for it and see what analysis might be related to it. Okay, that's a good point to stop the analysis. So from here we saw that a zip file contained in the email where we could download and extract it, and this contained an exe file. An unsuspecting user might then click on this file and infect their machine with Agent Tesla malware. We found this after using the interactive feature and automated actions provided by ANY.RUN. This execution in the interactive VNC window found that one of the child processes spawned by this PE file was, in fact, related to Agent Tesla, based on the Yara rule that it triggered. We saw this in the process tree, but you can also open the graph view to see this execution flow. Here we see Outlook, RAR file, exe inside it, triggering something that matched an Agent Tesla Yara rule. We can click on it to find out more details, and this shows us the Agent Tesla Yara rule that was matched. It also shows us some of the MITRE TTPs that were related to this malware sample. So all in all, we can conclude that this is likely to be a malicious executable that aims to steal passwords from our browser credentials. So if we take a step back and go back to our original analysis, we can perform several actions. We can extract the IOCs that were found, and we could look these up using TI lookup, or we can inspect the configuration for the malware, which is very interesting. Let's look up this malware sample to see if it's been used in any other ANY.RUN analyses. We'll grab the PE file that was used and search for its SHA-256 hash in TI lookup. This will give us a better idea if this is generic malware that's being distributed or if it's targeted against our organization. As we can see, we get a lot of data back from this. We get 88 analyses related to this single file. We also get some data about network threats. So this could be command and control servers that the malware is connected to, or data exfiltration sites. This intelligence is great when we perform some threat profiling about how threat actors are trying to target our organization. For instance, we can see that they're using zip files that contain malicious exe files. We could use this to inform a detection rule in the future. So now you've seen ANY.RUN in action, what do you think? Is it a good tool to investigate phishing emails with? I'm on the side of yes. Although tools like PhishTool are cheap, easy to run, and do provide good results sometimes, a lot of the work is manual. You have to upload it, analyze the headers, analyze the content, analyze any attachments using different tools, and if you can find a URL, you need to use a different tool, such as a sandbox environment, or an automated URL analysis tool like URL Scan to analyze it. Although for the occasional phishing email this isn't too bad, if you're dealing with tens or hundreds of phishing emails a day, this can become a very big problem. You need automation and timely analysis to help solve it. This is one of the key business benefits I see in using a platform like ANY.RUN. So who are these products for? Depending on the analyst's task, it can support various cybersecurity processes, including monitoring, triage, incident response, threat hunting, and digital forensics. So whether you're a junior SOC analyst, expert incident responder, or seasoned threat hunter, ANY.RUN has a product that will help you with your job. Now I know what you're thinking. Adam, you've missed a key component of sandbox consideration here. Why would I want to upload my personal data to an online sandbox where anyone can then look at the analyses? Well, this is why you need to invest in your sandbox. ANY.RUN guarantees data privacy and compliance. Businesses often deal with sensitive information in their emails, and these emails become part of phishing investigations. If you were to blindly upload these to an online sandbox for free, you're likely going to have a data privacy breach. There is a private mode in ANY.RUN that you can use, which has full compliance with GDPR and SOC 2 standards. This allows security teams to upload potentially sensitive material, attachments, or links without violating data protection regulations or exposing credential company data. So, if you want to get started with ANY.RUN today, I highly recommend signing up with your business email and trying out their free demo. Give it a go and let me know what you think of the platform for investigating phishing emails. Good luck out there.